Hello Wolfpack, we're looking at Comp today, Compound, a pretty popular coin, right? It's in the top 100, 67th in the current market cap ranking. I'm going to be honest straight off the bat, don't know much about the fundamentals, right? I'm not particularly educated on the fundamentals, so I'm not going to be able to give you a good guidance on whether that fundamental side of the coin is good, but that's not why I'm analyzing the coin, right? I'm analyzing the coin because some very interesting TA is happening, and I think it's going to be a very great trading signal within the next couple of weeks, right? Or even, the next couple of weeks, possibly within the next 1 or 2 weeks, but definitely, over the next couple of weeks here, as we head into, Q4, we've started October. I think November and the end of October is going to be very bullish for Comp here. So let's get into it. Let's see what we've got here for Comp. Essentially, Comp started off in the market in 2020. All right, so June 2020, it hasn't seen a bull market in the past. What that does immediately off the bat is it lets us know that, hey, we're probably not going to have the amount of data in terms of the TA that we need to create an accurate end of year or end of cycle target here on Comp. So we don't have a very accurate price prediction for Comp. We do have one, right? We do have one. I'll get into that later in the video, but as for the short-term TA is what I'm most interested in, because I think Comp is going to be a very good trading signal, right? That's what this video is about, the trading signal of Comp, and I think that we're coming up on something that's very, very bullish, and I'll explain it to you all now. Sorry, I just added a resistance line here at around 600 USD because I saw that, and I didn't pick that up in the pre-recording of this video. What we're seeing here on Comp currently, right, is a descending triangle here, a descending wedge, sorry, not a descending triangle, a descending wedge from which we're seeing Comp kind of perform quite badly in comparison to the rest of the market. Most altcoins have kind of already made a bit of a move. Comp is lacking on that front at the moment. We could probably draw it like that in terms of a line here. So it hasn't actually moved at all, right? So think about how Bitcoin has moved from 40K to around 59K in the recent days. Yes, altcoins are lagging on a general basis, but Comp is a coin that literally has had absolutely zero reaction. In fact, it's gone down in value, right? Usually a lot of altcoins have gone up, maybe 10%, which is nothing compared to what Bitcoin's gone up, but at least they've gone up, right? Comp has just simply not done that. If we draw this wedge here, we could probably draw it something like this, right? There's many different ways you could draw this wedge. We can even do it a little bit more like this. We could draw some sort of wedge like that, right? But essentially what we're seeing right now is a descending wedge. That's probably how I draw it, right? We have a few test points here. We have, this test here. We didn't actually close above here, so I'm going to count that as one of the test points. We have a test point here on the top. We have multiple test points here. And as for the bottom, we have test points all around this region. Test point here, test point throughout September as well. So it's a pretty clear descending wedge. It's fairly messy though, right? It's fairly messy, but it is there, and that's undoubtable, right? We have a massive amount of data proving that it is there. And the reason why I'm bringing this up now, as to why we're in this descending wedge and why I think this is going to be a bullish trade. Well, first of all, descending wedges traditionally break to the upside 70% of the time, right? So we have a base off the bat, 70% chance we're going to break to the upside. On top of that, we have a curved bottom here. We're rounding out, which means the selling pressure is decreasing, the buy pressure is increasing. So adding that to the equation, we probably have a much higher chance of breaking out. Then on top of that, on the Bollinger Bands, we're actually below the center line of the Bollinger Bands here, which is the 20 MA here. And we've been below that for an extended period of time, right? Almost a month and a half. Usually when you're below that Bollinger Band for about extended period of time, it leads to a breakout to the upside, right? We can look historically. We were below the center line here for about a month. We broke out massively to the upside, way above even the top band here. When, in May to around June here, we were below it for about a month as well, actually probably longer than we are now, and it led to a massive rally in just about a week period, above it. And way beyond it. We almost doubled in valuation. We actually did double in valuation from that period. So we're probably going to be setting up for something very similar, right? We had that rounding bottom, we have the descending wedge formation, and we have, the Bollinger Band telling us that we're probably going to be breaking the upside very soon. On top of all of that, right? So there's the three things. And now this is the fourth thing, right? So there's a lot of supporting evidence to this. We have, just currently been retesting this major support block, right, that is held as support or acted as resistance historically throughout the entire lifespan of Comp, right? So it's pretty clear to me, and I think that almost to the point where it's very, very, very unlikely that comp will be breaking to the downside of this descending wedge, mainly because it is a very sharply downwards descending wedge. Also because we have this rounding out formation, Bollinger Bands, we have the major support block as well. It seems as though this is probably going to have a 95% chance, in my personal opinion, of breaking to the upside, right? Very, very sure it's going to break to the upside. That's not financial advice for you. Do your own research. As I said, I'm not too educated on the fundamentals, so if there's something fundamentally weighing this thing down, that's something that I haven't actually looked into too closely. But the point is, in terms of TA, it's looking very bullish. This is a TA channel. If we look at the VVPR, what we can see is that this is the problem with comp, right? This is the problem with comp. If we break to the upside here on comp, what we can actually see is that this entire construction, this entire region, right? I'm talking about all of this, right? Everything that's happened here between around 315 USD to around 550 USD is a massive area of buying and selling contention as shown by the VVPR, which means it's going to be very hard for us to get through this resistance block. We have a clear resistance block on the VVPR here between around 389 USD and around 482 USD. So when we break to the upside, will I expect it to be as sharp as it has been before? That's an interesting question. I would probably assume it's going to do something very choppy until it breaks past this VVPR resistance, from which it's probably going to be spiking, right? Heavy spikes to the upside, right? It's probably not going to look like that. That doesn't look very healthy. We'll have corrections along the way, but the point is, this is going to be a bit of a zigzaggy breakout until we actually get past this 500 USD, roughly 500 USD resistance, from which we can start making some bigger moves in very short periods of time. So, what I'd be doing on comp personally is I would be waiting for a breakout of this descending wedge, a clear one, right? There's no rush to get into it because it has been shown historically that it takes a while for us to get through this thick area below 500 USD. And then once there's a clear confirmed breakout, once we start breaking to the upside, getting above some of those critical resistance levels, that would be an entry zone for comp that I'd be looking for. So I wouldn't be looking to trade the break. I'd be looking to trade, some confirmation that we're actually going to have sustained movements to the upside here. That being said, I think that there is a solid chance that this breakout will be kind of exponential at the same time, because we did see an exponential breakout back down here in June. Even though we had this massive point of contention on the VVPR, we just kind of cut straight through that. But we ended up ultimately getting rejected from that 542 USD region, from which we've seen 4 separate rejections from in the last 2 months. So 542 USD is what we ultimately need to capture to have confirmed confirmation that we flipped this entire region here and will be continuing to new all-time highs on a compound, right? But what we need to flip in the short term is obviously this channel, right? This descending wedge, breaking out of that will likely lead to a significant rally. So I'm looking at it, I've got my eyes on it, it's on my watch list. Where will this rally take us if it happens? Well, what we can do is we can measure from the first test of the bottom of this wedge to the first test of the top of this wedge, which we can measure about here, right? And this is obviously a very small line here, but if we measured it from the breakout point, it would show us that we're probably going to be making a move to around this region here at around 427 USD. So the reason why I want to bring up 427 USD, and it's not a particularly strong breakout, but the reason why I want to bring up 427 USD, right? That blue line there, I'll make it a thick line so you guys can see it. If we do reach that price point, it will probably look something like this, right? And if we see something like that, what we will have, right, we'll reject off of that and head to the upside, is a pretty clear inversed head and shoulders, right? So even though the breakout probably won't be too strong, the pattern that will emerge from the breakout would be very bullish and would probably send us past this critical 550 USD resistance zone that we're looking at here. So I'm bullish on it. One thing to note as well, I do have a few notes. Is we have this bullish RSI divergence that's been playing out for a long time, which suggests, and RSI divergences, by the way, are one of the most telling indicators that the current trend that you're in is not going to last, right? We have this bullish RSI divergence that's been playing out for almost a month, right? Almost a month of bullish RSI divergence. You can draw it a couple of ways. Every single way is still valid, where the price has been heading down and the RSI has been gradually making higher lows. So that suggests that this downwards trend is not sustainable, which lines up with the fact that we've been seeing that rounding bottom, and lines up with the kind of theory that we're going to see a break to the upside. So I'm bullish on comp in the short term. Long term, I don't know enough about it to be bullish on it, but I probably still swing trade it when this breakout occurs, right? I'm pretty confident this breakout is going to be occurring. If we look at the weekly chart, and based off no fundamentals in particular, what we can say is that, comp reached a price point of around 928 USD around the same time Bitcoin reached its price point of 64K. If Bitcoin was going to reach my price point on Bitcoin, my price target on Bitcoin, 113K by December 27th, then comp would probably be reaching, around that 2x price point, plus 50% added for altcoins having more gains than Bitcoin, which would bring us to a price target of around, and we'll add 130% here, 2,131 USD. So you could say 2,000 USD, you can say 2,100 USD. The reason why I'm not too fussed is because it is not a set in stone price prediction, right? We simply don't have enough historical data on comp to get a set in stone price prediction. If you don't understand how I came to that price target, let me explain it again, because I don't think I explained it very well, right? I'll explain it again. Bitcoin reached a price point of 64K at the same time that comp topped out and reached its all-time high here at 928 USD. Assuming Bitcoin goes to 113K by the end of the cycle, which is just under a 2x from 64K, comp will be 2xing plus 50% if it performs with Bitcoin, right? And that would bring us to this price point here at 2,141 USD. So I'm looking at 2,000, but again, this is very rough, and honestly, I don't really care where it goes in the long term, because as I said, I'm not holding comp, right? I'm swing trading comp when this breakout occurs, but I will note that we probably will be seeing a bullish MACD cross on the weekly chart coming out, so, potentially holding it for a few months might not be the worst idea, but let's see how that plays out first before we say anything there. On the Bitcoin pair, and not much to say on the Bitcoin pair because it is a fairly new coin, but on the Bitcoin pair we have a pretty clear area of resistance here in this red box between 1,630 sats and 1,290 sats. And then as for support, well, we don't really have much. We've dropped below all of our major support, and we just have our all-time low here at around 389 sats, right? 391 sats, sorry. What I'm expecting on comp is for us to actually go down to this all-time low completely, right? Drop all the way down to 391 sats as Bitcoin moves, because Bitcoin is the first mover in a bull market, right? Bitcoin has to take all of the strength out of the altcoins in order to make its move to its all-time high. When Bitcoin tops out, and I'm thinking that's going to happen in late December, I think that comp and most altcoins will have a bit of a rally in January or late December, possibly into early February as well. And then that's when comp will be making some exponential gains on the Bitcoin pair. Do I think it will go to its all-time high? Probably not, right? I don't think it's going to go to its all-time high. This all-time high was made in the first week of comp's existence, and then it just declined from that point. And it also was made in the middle of a bear market. So I don't think that all-time high is relevant in terms of the Bitcoin pair. I think I'm looking at this 2,300 sat region. We could flip that region and go up to around 3,000 sats, but I'm looking at 2,300 sats, which is currently about a 5x way on the Bitcoin pair. So, definitely worth keeping in mind on the Bitcoin pair that we will be heading downwards before we head up. That's the most likely occurrence, right? But I will say as well, assuming this trade signal is going to take place within the next week or two, there will probably be some short-term upwards movements on the Bitcoin pair before we head down further, because comp has not actually moved at all since Bitcoin reached 40K, right? So we need to see some relief on the Bitcoin pair and the USD chart for sure. So that's the end of the video, right? Essentially, I'm very bullish on comp in the short term. I don't know enough about it to make a view in the long term, and I will be keeping you guys up to date on that trade signal. But essentially, what you need to know, wait for a breakout to the upside, wait for a daily candle close or two, and then essentially that should give you all the information you need to get into comp and wait for that rally to happen. And essentially my target for the rally, I've said 424 USD because that would be the inverse head and shoulder pattern that we need to see. But ultimately what we want to be seeing on comp is flipping this entire region here, and that would require a flip of 550 USD because we can see multiple rejections off of that region. So flipping 550 USD would give comp some room to actually go further to the upside in the coming months. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.